Let me say this before anyone judges me. I didn't think it would actually work. I thought it would be one of those dramatic, slightly foolish things people do when they feel ignored. Something you laugh about later. Something that scares your partner just enough that they finally wake up and realize they could lose you. It was supposed to be a wake-up call. I wanted him to look at me again, to reach for me, to fight for me. So yes, I did something I'm not proud of. I flirted with strangers at a club while my husband sat at the bar. I laughed too loudly. Touched arms I shouldn't have touched. Let hands stay on my waist longer than I should have. Let myself feel admired while watching him from the corner of my eye. I wanted him to be jealous. I wanted him to get up, pull me away and say, "Enough. You're mine. Come here." Instead, I watched him walk out. With someone else. Not a random stranger. A woman I didn't see coming at all. Before I tell you how that happened and why I ended up standing outside a club in bare shoulders and ruined mascara while my husband drove away with another woman, do the usual. Like, subscribe, hit hype if you want more of these stories, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I read them, even the ones that call me names. Now let's talk about the night I tried to make him jealous and only prove to him that I wasn't someone worth fighting for. You need to understand where my head was before that night. My name is Laura. I'm 31. I've been married for 4 years to a man named Adam, and if you'd met us in the first year, you'd never believe this is where we'd end up. In the beginning, he was obsessed with me. Not in a scary way, in that intense, all-in way where you feel like someone finally chose you and only you. He would text me constantly, show up with coffee outside my office, plan surprise dates, pull me close in public just because. I never had to wonder where I stood with him. If we were at a party, I could feel his eyes on me from across the room. Not in a controlling way, more like a constant soft reminder. You're mine and I'm yours and I'm proud of that. Then life happened. Work got heavier for him. Deadlines, overtime, late meetings. He became manager of his team, which meant more stress and more people to be responsible for. He started coming home later, more drained. We'd eat dinner in front of the TV. He'd half listen when I talked, nod and say, "Uh-huh," at the right times, but I could tell his mind was somewhere else. If I'm honest, I didn't adapt very well. The attention he used to pour over me so easily. I got used to it. I got addicted to it. So when it started drying up, I didn't calmly sit down and say, "Hey, I miss you. I feel distant from you. Can we work on this?" No, I started getting resentful. I'd make little comments. "Oh, so your laptop gets more eye contact than I do now. Nice to see you remember what I look like. Don't worry, I'll just date my phone like you do." He would sigh and say, "Laura, I'm tired. It's not like that. I just have a lot going on." I heard that sentence so many times I started to hate the word tired. The worse I felt, the more needy I became. The more needy I became, the more overwhelmed he felt. The more overwhelmed he felt, the more distant he became. You can see the spiral, right? I felt like I was disappearing. So when my coworker suggested we all go out one Friday, real out, like club out, not just bar after work, something inside me lit up. I used to be good at that, at being seen. Before Adam, before we moved in together, before routines and bills and meal prep took over everything, I used to be the girl at the center of the dance floor. The one people looked at when she walked in, the one the bartender remembered. I miss that version of myself. The problem is, I didn't just want strangers to see me again. I wanted him to see me again. That's where I took a wrong turn. I floated the idea to Adam that Wednesday. "Some of the girls from work want to go out on Friday," I said casually over dinner. "Like out, club, music, that kind of night." He nodded. "Sounds fun. You haven't done that in a while." I twirled my fork. "We haven't done that in a while." He looked up. "I figured you'd be too tired," I added, letting a bit of sting sneak into my tone. You've been falling asleep on the couch at 9 lately. He set his fork down. Do you want me to come? He asked. I hated how that question sounded. It should have been obvious, right? Do you want to come? I shot back. He shrugged, that tired little half shrug. If you want me there, I'll come. If you want a girls' night, that's fine too. That answer annoyed me more than an outright no would have. I want my husband to want to go out with me, I said, not come along like he's doing me a favor. I didn't say it like that, he replied. I just know how these nights go. You dance, your friends pull you away, and I end up standing somewhere with a drink, trying not to be in the way. So you're saying you'd rather not go, I concluded. He sighed. I'm saying I'm tired, but I'll go if it means that much to you. In my head, that turned into, he doesn't care. He's bored with me. He's just going through the motions. Out loud, I said, forget I asked. He looked at me, brows furrowing slightly. Laura, he said, could we not turn everything into a test? That line should have stopped me. It didn't, because by then, I had already decided what I was going to do. If he wouldn't chase me on his own, I'd give him a reason to. I'd show him what it looks like when other people notice me. I'd remind him that he wasn't the only one who could have my attention. In my mind, it made sense. In reality, it was a plan built entirely on pride and fantasy. Friday night came. I spent more time getting ready than I had in months. I did my hair twice, stood in front of the mirror trying on different dresses, texted my friend a photo and asked, "Too much?" She replied, "It's a club. There is no too much." Wear it. So I chose the black dress. You know the type. A bit shorter than feels comfortable if you bend over. Bare shoulders. A neckline that made me keep checking if everything was still where it should be. I told myself it was about feeling confident, but it wasn't just about me. I was already imagining his reaction. I wanted him to see me walk out of the bedroom and remember what he used to look like at the beginning. That slightly stunned expression, the smile that spread slowly, the wow under his breath. When I stepped out, heels clicking on the floor, he was sitting on the edge of the bed putting his shoes on. He glanced up, then looked again. There it was. That tiny pause. His eyes moved from my face down my shoulders, my dress, my legs, then back up. "You're really going all out," he said. There was no whistle, no dramatic reaction, but his gaze lingered a second longer than usual. I took that as a win. "Is it too much?" I asked, pretending to adjust the strap. He shook his head. "You look amazing." I waited for more. For, "You're going to make it hard for me to let you out of the house like this," or, "You look too good for that place. We should stay in," or something. Anything that sounded possessive, hungry, like that early version of him. Instead, he stood, picked up his watch and said, "We should go before the lines get bad." I swallowed my disappointment. Fine, I thought. You'll react later. The club was one of those places that looks ridiculous in daylight if you ever see it with the lights on. Sticky floors, scuffed walls. But at night, with the neon and the music and the bodies pressed together, it feels like a different universe. We walked in, hand in hand. The bass hit my chest, thudding through my ribs. My coworkers were already there, waving from near the dance floor. We hugged, shouted greetings over the music. Someone pushed a drink into my hand. The night started. Normal. We danced together for a few songs, Adam and I. He had that slightly awkward, "I'm not a club guy, but I'm trying for you" way of moving. I should have appreciated that more. But every time he smiled at me, I noticed something behind it. Tiredness, maybe. A bit of distance. Or maybe I was just looking for it. After a while, he nodded toward the bar. "I'm going to get some water," he said, leaning to my ear. "Do you want anything?" I already had a drink. "I'm good," I said. "Go ahead." He squeezed my hand and moved through the crowd. I watched him go. That's when the thought really sank in. This is your stage now. The old me woke up, like I had just switched on a light. The first guy approached within 10 minutes. Short hair, nice smile, clearly had already had a few drinks. "Did your partner seriously leave you alone looking like that?" he asked, leaning closer to be heard. I smiled and shrugged. "He's at the bar, hydrating or something." "You must be very secure," he said, "sending you out like this." There it was, the line I had been waiting to hear from somebody. I laughed. Maybe he trusts me. "Or maybe he's underestimating the rest of us," the guy said, eyes lingering a little too long on the top of my dress. I could have shut it down right there with one sentence. "I'm married. Relax." Instead, I tilted my head and said, "Maybe." We danced. At first, it was harmless. Two people moving to the beat, not really touching. Then the crowd pushed a little closer. His hand brushed my waist. I let it stay, not fully grabbing, just there. I told myself, it's just dancing. It's just one night. Adam knows you're coming home with him. Every few minutes, I'd glance toward the bar. He was there, sitting on a stool, drink in hand, watching. Our eyes met once. He held my gaze for a moment, then looked away and said something to the bartender. No wave, no frown, no, "Come here." I felt irritation prickle under my skin. Why wasn't he coming over? Why wasn't he claiming me? Why wasn't he doing anything? The more he stayed still, the more restless I became. By the third song, my group had changed positions. A different man slid in closer, taller, louder, more forward. "You here with someone?" he asked, leaning near my ear. "My husband," I said, nodding toward the bar. He looked over, saw Adam, then turned back to me. "And he's okay with you dancing with me like this?" He grinned. I smiled and took a sip from my drink. "He hasn't said anything," I replied. Which wasn't an answer, but felt like one. This guy was bolder. His hands found my hips more deliberately. He started moving behind me at one point, and instead of stepping away, I stayed where I was. Again, not something I'm proud of. Again, something I told myself was about proving a point. I kept watching Adam. He saw. Of course he saw. He didn't make a scene. Didn't march across the floor. Didn't pull me away. He just watched, expression unreadable, then turned back to his drink. To me, in that moment, that felt like failure. Like indifference. Like proof that I didn't matter. So I escalated. "Careful," my coworker whispered at one point, pulling me aside between songs. "Your man looks like he's about to evaporate from that bar stool." "He's fine," I said too quickly. "We're fine. He knows I'm coming home with him." "That doesn't mean he likes this," she said gently. "Maybe he should say something then," I shot back, because that was the entire point, wasn't it? I wanted him to say something, to do something, to show me some sign that I still had power over him, that I could still make him react. Instead, he sat there. He talked to the bartender, checked his phone, looked around the club, and yes, he watched me, but not with the expression I'd imagined, not with fiery jealousy, more like someone observing a situation and slowly coming to a conclusion. I didn't recognize that look for what it was until it was too late. At some point, I went to the bar to grab a drink, even though my glass was still half full. I just wanted to see him up close. He glanced at my glass and raised an eyebrow. "You already have one," he said. "I wanted to check on you," I replied, leaning close so I wouldn't have to shout. "I'm good," he said. "Enjoying the show." He said it so calmly that I laughed, thinking he was joking. "Jealous yet?" I asked, tilting my head, giving him the little smirk I used to give him when I wanted to be playful. He looked at me for a long moment. "I'm taking notes," he said. I rolled my eyes, annoyed at the non-answer. "You know this is harmless," I added. "You trust me, right?" He took a slow sip of his drink and said, "I trust people to show me who they really are when they think there are no consequences." I frowned. What is that supposed to mean? He set his glass down. We'll talk later, he said. Go enjoy yourself. I could have stayed then. I could have stayed at the bar, asked him what he meant, maybe actually talked like an adult. Instead, my pride bristled. Fine, I said, picking up my glass. Don't wait up. And I walked back to the dance floor. Straight into more noise, more lights, more hands, more little chances to feel important for 5 seconds at a time. The night blurred into a loop. Music, hands, laughter. A man leaned in to shout something in my ear that I didn't even hear, but I laughed anyway. Another made a joke about my husband being the most patient man alive. Someone offered to buy me a drink. I said yes. I started moving in that way you move when you know you're being watched, not just by random eyes in the room, by one pair of eyes at the bar. Every time I did something that felt a bit too much, I'd look for Adam. At first, he was there. Same stool, same drink, same unreadable face. Then, after a while, I couldn't see him. I assumed he'd gone to the bathroom or stepped outside for air. I kept going, because that's what you do when you're committed to a bit, right? You don't stop halfway, you push it. At some point, the man I'd been dancing with leaned in, his hand on my hip, and said, "You sure your husband doesn't mind this?" I turned my head, scanning the bar. No Adam. The stool where he'd been sitting was empty. I straightened, suddenly uneasy. "Actually, I need to go check something," I said, moving away from the guy. He shrugged and turned to someone else without a second thought. That, in a strange way, stung too. I threaded my way through the crowd toward the bar, expecting to see Adam chatting with someone, maybe ordering another drink. Nothing. I did a full slow scan of the room. Dance floor, booths against the wall. Near the DJ, in the small lounge area. No sign of him. My first thought was, he left. My heartbeat jumped. Then I saw him. Near the exit, standing with a woman, not a girl from the dance floor. No glitter dress, no wobbling heels, no smeared eyeliner. She stood out precisely because she didn't look like the rest of us. Simple fitted dress, blazer over it, hair pulled back, makeup neat and calm. The kind of woman you'd see in an office during the day, not in this kind of place at midnight. She had a small clutch in one hand and his jacket over her shoulders. They were talking, not flirting in an obvious way, just talking. But he was smiling, that real smile I hadn't seen in weeks, the one that reaches his eyes. I watched him say something that made her laugh. Something inside my chest turned over. Who was she? I'd never seen her at any of our group events. She wasn't one of my friends. She didn't look like one of his old friends either. I froze for a few seconds, then moved toward them. At first, I expected him to notice me coming and straighten, take his jacket back, step away, look guilty. He didn't. He saw me. And if anything, his expression became even more composed. When I reached them, I didn't start with a hi. I opened with, "What is this?" It came out sharper and louder than I planned. The woman turned to look at me. Up close, she was even more irritatingly beautiful, not in an overdone way. In an effortless, I drink enough water and have my life together kind of way. She gave me a polite smile. "You must be Laura," she said. I hated that she knew my name. "Yes," I replied, folding my arms. "And you are?" "Emma," she said. "We work together." Work. That word stung. I turned to Adam. "So you brought your coworker to the club?" I demanded. "When was that decided?" He held my gaze steadily. "She was already here," he said. "They called me earlier and asked if I wanted to join after their team dinner." "They," I repeated. "Who is they?" He nodded toward a corner where I saw a small group of people in office wear, clearly not here for the music as much as the late-night drinks. I hadn't noticed them before. "We had a team event tonight," he reminded me. "I told you about it earlier this week." He had. I just hadn't connected it. I left early to come out with you, he added. That detail hurt in a way I wasn't ready for. So what, you decided to finish your work party here? I snapped. I decided to not spend the night watching my wife drape herself over strangers, he said, voice calm, not raised. I stepped outside to clear my head, ran into them. They invited me to sit with them inside for a bit. Inside where? I asked coldly. The same club where I was apparently putting on a show. He didn't answer that. Instead, he glanced at Emma, then back at me. You want my attention, he said quietly. You have it. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like standing in front of a judge. Emma shifted slightly, like she was going to excuse herself, but Adam touched her arm lightly. It's okay, he said. She deserves to hear things clearly. That little gesture, him reassuring her, made something flare in me I didn't know I was capable of. So you're what now? I shot at her. His moral support for the night? She looked at me, not flinching. No, she said. I'm someone who has watched him drag himself into work exhausted for months, while still doing everything for everyone. And tonight, I watched him leave our dinner early because he said, my wife wants to go out. I promised I'd be there with her. I blinked. I hadn't known that part. And then I watched him come back, she continued, looking like someone who has finally realized he's reached his limit. Okay, I said, my voice colder. Let me talk to my husband. Alone. He's your husband, she acknowledged calmly. But what you did tonight doesn't stay in some bubble just between you two. When he walks into work broken, people notice. When he sits there at the table staring at his drink like this is his fault, people notice that too. I didn't do anything that bad, I protested. I danced. I talked. People flirt at clubs. That's the whole point. You flirted like you were single, Emma said, while your partner was sitting meters away. You wanted him to feel small. It worked. Her tone wasn't cruel. That somehow made it worse. Adam finally stepped fully between us, as if to shield her from whatever I might say next. Enough, he said quietly. This isn't about her. This is about us. Then why is she here? I shot back. Why is she wearing your jacket? Why are you standing out here with her while I'm inside looking like an idiot? Because she came outside after I walked out, he said. Because she saw my face and asked if I was okay. Because she listened when I said I wasn't. I listen, I insisted. He gave me a look that said very clearly, not like that, you don't. You wanted a reaction from me, he said. You wanted to know if I still cared enough to be affected. You have your answer. By leaving with another woman? I asked, voice rising. That's your answer? No, he replied. By finally understanding that I don't want to compete with strangers for my own wife's attention. I laughed once, a short, ugly sound. So what, you're just walking out? With her? That's your grand statement. She works with me, he said. She actually respects me. That line sliced in a way I didn't expect. Emma shifted again, clearly not enjoying being used as an example. And she doesn't use games to get love, she added quietly. I turned on her. Stay out of my marriage, I snapped. Then keep your marriage out of public clubs, she replied, not raising her voice. You turned it into a show. People watched. You wanted an audience. This is part of that. I had no comeback, only heat in my face and a ball of humiliation in my throat. You don't get to do this, I said to Adam. You don't get to walk out with someone else just because I danced with a few guys. He tilted his head slightly. You didn't just dance with a few guys, he said. You let them put their hands on you. You laughed like you were on a first date. You looked at me while you did it, like you were waiting to see how far you could go before I snapped. That's not, I started. He held up a hand. I watched you, he said, voice steady. From the moment we walked in, I watched you light up when men started looking at you. I watched you test how far you could push while I sat there. I wanted you to react, I admitted, because what was the point of denying it now? You've been so distant, I wanted you to remember I'm still here. That other people notice me even if you don't. And you think this is the way to ask for that? He asked, by turning our relationship into some twisted competition in your head. You're the one turning it into a competition now, I said, leaving with another woman to prove a point. He looked at Emma, then back at me. I'm not leaving with her, he said. I'm leaving with someone who respected my boundary when I said I needed distance from what you were doing. That happens to be her tonight. It could have been me alone in a cab. Either way, I am not staying here and pretending this is normal. The phrase, my boundary, sounded like therapy language. Maybe it was. I didn't care. What I cared about was the visual. My husband taking off with another woman while I was still in my club dress, surrounded by people who had seen me parade around like I was single. I was never going to go home with anyone else, I said. You know that. You know me. He looked at me for a long time. That's the problem, he said. I do. And he turned to Emma. You ready? He asked. She hesitated for a split second, eyes flicking to me, like she was giving me one last silent chance to do something different. I didn't. Pride wouldn't let me. So she nodded. He started walking toward the parking lot. I stood there, stunned, then finally snapped out of it and ran after them. Adam, I called. Adam, stop. He didn't speed up. He didn't slow down either. I caught up to them halfway to the car. You can't just leave with her, I said, grabbing his arm. He gently removed my hand, the way you might untangle yourself from a clinging child. You wanted attention, he said. Now you've got mine. Then listen, I said, my voice shaking. It was a game, that's all. I wanted you to be jealous. I wanted you to come drag me off that dance floor and remind me you care. You were supposed to react, not check out and walk away with someone else. You weren't playing alone, he replied. You were using real people. Real men you don't care about. Me. My feelings. Do you understand how that looks? It looks like I'm still desirable, I said, before I could stop myself. It looks like I still matter. To who? He asked. To those men who couldn't even remember your name 5 minutes later. To people who saw a short dress and thought it was an invitation. You were chasing quick reactions from strangers and calling that proof of value. I wanted proof from you, I said quietly. Then you should have asked for it from me, he answered, not held auditions for replacements in front of me. My eyes filled with tears. You're being dramatic, I said. We're just having a rough patch. Couples go through these. People flirt when they feel insecure. It doesn't mean I don't love you. He looked exhausted. Love without respect isn't love, he said. It's possession, and I'm not interested in being something you test your power on. Emma stood a few steps away, looking uncomfortable, clearly wishing she wasn't witnessing this. I'm not angry the way you think I am, he added. I'm not picturing you running off with one of them. I'm done in a different way. That word, done, hit oddly. Done how? I asked. Done letting you drag me into these little games, he said. Done proving my worth every time you feel bored or insecure. Done sitting in corners while you see how far you can go in public, under the excuse of just dancing. So that's it, I asked. You give up on us because of one night? He shook his head. This isn't just one night, he said. This is the most honest version of what's been happening for months. Tonight just turned the volume up so loud we both had to hear it. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand, aware my mascara had probably given up on life an hour ago. Can we at least go home and talk? I asked. Just you and me. No audience, no work friend, no music. I don't trust myself to go home with you right now, he said. That startled me. Why? I asked. You think I'm going to turn on the music and keep the show going in the living room? He gave a humorless half-smile. I think you're going to cry and say you didn't mean it, that it was just for fun, that I should be flattered other people want you, he replied. And I think there's a part of me that will want to forgive you because it's easier than starting over. Then do that, I pleaded. Forgive me. We can work on this. We can set rules. I'll stop going out. He shook his head. I shouldn't have to set rules for basic respect, he said. You don't train a partner like a child. So you're just done? I asked again, my voice thinner now. Just like that? He opened the car door for Emma. If you want strangers' attention so badly, he said, looking at me one last time, let them take you home. The words landed like a slap. Adam, I whispered. But he was already moving. He walked around the car, got in the driver's seat, and started the engine. Emma looked at me through the window. There was no victory in her face, only a kind of sad pity. I hated that most of all. The car pulled out of the lot. I stood there in the harsh yellow parking light, arms wrapped around myself against the night air, listening to the music thudding behind me through the club walls. Inside, the same men who had been eager to dance with me 20 minutes before were now busy dancing with other women. Nobody was looking at me now. Later, on Lena's couch, yes, the same friend from the other story, she's starting to feel like the emergency host of my worst decisions. I tried to explain it in a way that made me sound less awful. I didn't cheat, I said. I didn't go home with anyone else. I didn't kiss anybody. I just danced and flirted a little too much. She stared at me over her mug. Did you do it to make him jealous? She asked. Yes, I admitted. Did you know he could see you? She asked. Yes. Did you enjoy that? She asked. I hesitated. Yes, I said quietly. Then you were using other people as tools, she said, and using his feelings as a target. You were throwing darts and waiting to see if you'd hit anything. You're making it sound worse than it was, I protested. How should it sound? She countered. Like you were just dancing in your own bubble. Because that's not how you told it. I sank back into the couch cushions. I wanted to feel powerful again, I said. Is that so wrong? It's not wrong to want to feel valued, she replied. It's wrong to try to get that feeling by stepping on someone who already gave it to you once and is currently sitting at a bar watching you act single. I hated that her words made sense. I wanted to be comforted, not corrected. Everyone flirts, I muttered. Couples survive worse than this. They survive worse when both people want to rebuild, she said. Does he? That was the question I didn't know how to answer. Because after he drove away, my text didn't go through. My calls went straight to voicemail. And when I went back to our place the next day, my key still worked, but his stuff was half gone. A note on the kitchen table read, I'm staying at a hotel for now. Don't call my coworkers. We'll talk when I'm ready. No love. No, we'll fix this. Just logistics. I stared at that note for a long time, feeling a strange mixture of anger and fear. How dare he leave with another woman? How dare he not fight harder? How dare he not give me the scene I had built this whole thing around? But under that, something smaller whispered, You wanted a reaction. You got one. You just didn't script it this way. In therapy, yes, I'm still going. Apparently my life has turned into a series now. My therapist asked, What were you hoping he would do that night? I didn't even have to think. Get up, I said. Walk over to the dance floor. Take my hand and pull me away. Say something like, That's enough. You're with me. And then what? She asked. And then we'd go home and have one of those intense talks where everything comes out, I replied. Where he tells me he's been stressed and scared and tired, and I tell him I felt invisible, and we cry and hug and somehow feel closer after. So you wanted a dramatic scene to trigger intimacy, she summarized. Yes, I said. Exactly. And instead, she said gently, he chose to protect himself. That's an overreaction, I said. Is it? She asked. You might see one night. He sees a pattern. Tonight was just the version he couldn't ignore. I was never going to actually leave him, I insisted. I was always going home with him. In your mind, that made it safe, she said. In his mind, that made it worse. How? I frowned. Because you knew you had a safety net and still chose to step on it, she replied. You knew he was there, watching, and you still treated him like background furniture to your main show. That tells him something about your regard for him. I sat there, feeling like every sentence was another layer of makeup being wiped off, leaving me exposed and not nearly as glamorous as I'd thought I looked on that dance floor. Do I think Adam was perfect in all this? No. Part of me still believes he could have come over and said, "Hey, this hurts. Can we go?" Part of me resents that it took another woman, a coworker, someone who had nothing to do with our vows, to provide the calm he clearly didn't feel with me that night. Part of me hates that he put his jacket on her shoulders while I was inside trying to feel warm in a room full of people. But there's a bigger part, growing louder lately, that can't escape one simple truth. I built the game. I set the rules. I picked the arena. I invited an audience. And then I got angry when he refused to play and left instead. I flirted with strangers to make him jealous. He walked out with someone who didn't need to stage anything to make him feel seen. It wasn't revenge. It was clarity. And now, sitting here with my club dress hanging on the back of a chair like a costume I can't believe I wore, I'm left with one hard, simple lesson. If you try to measure your worth by how many strangers turn their heads, don't be surprised when the one person whose opinion actually matters turns away.